Hi, welcome to another episode of Aaron Explains Japan, where I cover issues related to Japan, including issues related to its economics, history, culture, or social issues in general. In December 2019, Carlos Ghosn, the former CEO of Renault Nissan Mitsubishi Alliance, partook in an escape from Japan that almost resembled what you would see in a blockbuster movie. With the assistance from an American private security contractor, Ghosn hid in a musical instrument box and fled from Japan to Lebanon through Turkey in a private jet, breaking the bail conditions that were imposed on him by the Tokyo court. In his public statement after the escape, Ghosn made the famous quote that many people still utilize to this day, where he said that he would no longer be held hostage by a rigged Japanese justice system where guilt is presumed, discrimination is rampant, and basic human rights are denied. In order to hopefully look into this issue from an objective perspective, we have to consider all sides. Some state that Ghosn is merely making an excuse in order to justify his escape. However, a considerable amount of worldwide opinion showed sympathy towards Ghosn, rather than criticizing him. The primary reason why Ghosn received such sympathy from the worldwide press is partly due to the treatment in which he received from the Japanese prosecutors, as well as the Japanese court for over a year after his arrest, which many stated was too harsh and inhumane, including the United Nations Human Rights Group, which said that the Japanese government should give Ghosn compensation and other reparations due to the arrest and detention conditions which they believed to be a blatant violation of universal human rights. After being arrested by the Tokyo District prosecutors on November 2018 on accusations of false accounting, he was first released with insufficient evidence, only to be rearrested shortly after. After he was released on bail, he stated in a press conference that he would reveal the truth and find justice. After the press conference, the Japanese prosecutors arrested him once again, and such cycle of arrest and release was repeated 4 times before Ghosn managed to finally escape from Japan. During this process, the strange practices conducted by the Japanese prosecutors and court, which was relatively unrevealed from the rest of the world until this point, was widely exposed for the world to see. Ghosn was forced to partake in prosecutorial investigation without the presence of a lawyer and was coerced to confess, as otherwise, the prosecution threatened to arrest his family. The Western media of course took notice and said that it looked as if Ghosn was undergoing some sort of a peculiar religious trial and continued to criticize the judicial system of Japan. And I believe many of you guys who are watching this video already know about the infamous practice coined by many as hostage justice of the Japanese judiciary, where the defendant can be held hostage for indefinite periods of time until he or she confesses to the specific accusation made by the prosecutor. Many people may be surprised that such form of hostage justice still remains in the country, as most developed nations have long abandoned such practices as a part of the investigation process. Some make the valid point that if the Japanese prosecution are adamant enough to conduct such blatant violation of human rights to a prominent and internationally known individual such as Carlos Ghosn, whose actions and the procedures of the investigation are deeply scrutinized, one could only imagine the treatment that an ordinary defendant has to receive in Japan. And the term hostage justice was not in fact first created by the Western media or by Ghosn himself. The usage of the term actually dates back to some Japanese lawyers who were frank enough to state that the Japanese judiciary system could improve the current practices where they prioritize the arrest of the defendant and their quote-unquote hostage status. But why use such a strong word as hostage? First, investigation under arrest is the fundamental principle of all investigation processes in Japan. Unless it is a light crime, an arrest warrant is demanded by the side of the prosecutors, and the court rather easily grants its requested arrest warrants. To substantiate, the amount of arrest warrants which were denied of his request was only 5.89% back in 2018. While this already seems like an absurdly low percentage for warrant denial, it is actually a rather high improvement from the 0.2% denial rate from 1990. And then there is the famous claim that the principle of innocent until proven guilty is not maintained in Japan. In a criminal case, the principle of innocent until proven guilty is the principle in which a defendant is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty during trial. This principle is usually regarded as one of the most fundamental elements of the modern criminal law. Carlos Ghosn also claims such elements as one of the problems of the Japanese judiciary system. And when the Japanese Minister of Justice said that Ghosn should return to Japan to, quote-unquote, prove his innocence, the comment went viral, as many believe that the statement further admitted such false sense of guilty until proven innocent in the minds of the Japanese law officials. But why are such perceptions held by the Japanese law officials in the first place? Some legal scholars blame the pride in which many Japanese prosecutors hold in their flawlessness and their conviction that their investigation process is always conducted to quote-unquote perfection. You may have heard some arguments in defense of the Japanese judiciary system, in that the reason why the Japanese conviction rate is 99% is that the prosecutors know exactly which cases to prosecute and which not to. This may sound valid in theory, but many people recognize that through history, that no individual, regardless of how talented they are in the legal field, can conduct a truly perfect investigation process every single time. For instance, when new developments are made in forensics, new evidence that was previously undiscovered may come to light. So it seems quite logical to be prepared for certain possible errors that could have existed during the investigation process. But this is quite hard in the case of Japan, as prosecutors believe that one bad case where the prosecuted defendant receives a sentence of innocence can be a permanent flaw, or often a career-ending incident for the prosecutorial side, thus their pride in 99% conviction rate. I am no legal expert, so please only watch this video strictly for educational and entertainment purposes, then conduct further research on this topic if you are interested. But with that said, one way the Japanese judiciary system could improve is to follow the path taken by some other countries, such as the United States and Taiwan, where they have independent public branches that has the authority to advise reinvestigation to the prosecutor office branch, as well as request retrials. As a consequence of such lack of independent supervisory institutions, cases in which evidence for not guilty is abundant still takes decades of time even to be considered for a retrial, if not overlooked completely, as it is the case for most occasions. Hence, as such independent supervisory branches does not yet exist in the case of Japan, it seems wise, at least from the side of justice, to establish such branches that are operated on an independent basis, separate from the Ministry of Justice. Thank you for watching today's episode of Aaron Explains Japan. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, as well as check out my book where you can get a much more in-depth insight into the Japanese psyche, which has contributed to the formation of such prosecutor emphasis on the 99% conviction rate that may prove to be of your interest. I appreciate your amazing support. Cheers guys, I'll catch you on the next episode.